Welcome to the podcast series Talking Success, connecting the global FinTech community. I'm Stacey Jafta, and today I'll be chatting with Yamandou Alexander, founder and CEO of Makeba. Makeba believes that income inequality is one of the most important challenges of our time. Technology allows us to address financial inclusion. Makeba goes beyond moving money forward for their customers and offers them innovative products that solve their most acute pain points. Hi, Yamandou. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning in New York here. Good afternoon for you guys in South Africa.
Yeah, it's bright and early for you. What have you been up to this morning?
Nothing but preparing a wonderful day.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I want to hear all your stories. I know that you've built a couple businesses. You have quite the interesting journey.
Thank you so much. The story started, I guess, in 1994, where a young kid from France fly to the US to live the American dream. Decide to stay after the summer and work in restaurant. And May 1st, 1996, I created a telecom company called ASG Telecom. And here I was selling cell phones to all the French chefs and waiters in New York. And then meet some interesting friend in Congo. I mean, I met him in New York, right? And he was from Congo. And one day he reached out to me and said, hey, we need telecom product here also. Can you sell me these phones? And here I was selling a lot of phones into Congo. And short time after, I land myself in Kinshasa and start also to grow telecom network there. And one thing leads to another over the years, and we start providing satellite services, internet connectivity, international carrier calls to mobile operator, and we grow this to 38 countries in Africa. Along the way, we also build the second mobile network in the islands of Capo Verde, something that will become interesting later on in our life. It's a company that we sold in 2012. Then I did ground transportation company in New York, eco-friendly with eco-friendly cars, and we sold this company in 2015. And yeah, so lately the focus is mainly Makeba, and it's growing great. You know, we're having a good growth. The prospect of the future market where we want to go to is very good. So that's up to date.
Can you give me a quick elevator pitch on Makeba?
Sure. So Makeba is financial ecosystem based on two applications. So there is one called Makeba Money for the users to be able to make payments and transfer money to each other. And the other one is called Makeba Merchant, and it's like a point of sale. It's an application that merchant download for free. And through this point of sale, they are able to collect payment and do transfer. And it's both services that are commercially positioned in a very attractive and commercially good competitive pricing. On the transfer side, as we want to carry the remittance from the diaspora in the US and in Europe, sending money back home, and also transfer within the African continent, they will be able to do this through the application chatting service instantly and at price that are about 10 times cheaper than what is today the standard, which is mainly Western Union type of pricing due to the three middlemen model. So that's what Makeba is, and we are starting this service in Capo Verde, where we have for the last 3 months open to the public. For the last 1 year, it was in beta program. We were fine-tuning our technology. And we started in Capo Verde 3 months ago, and we see over 35% average growth per month. And it's a very interesting country for our proof of concept, because the particularity of Capo Verde, which is a small archipelago of island in West Africa, Portuguese speaking, there are about 500,000 people in Capo Verde, right? But 500,000 Cape Verdean live in the Boston, Massachusetts area. It's a very split community. So remittance is a very important part of the GDP, and that is the perfect place for us to start and demonstrate. And after that, we are going to grow to other markets. We have signed agreement with or a bank, which is a West African, mainly French-speaking bank that evolved in 12 countries. And we're starting with them in Senegal. And we have also signed an agreement with Providus Bank in Nigeria, and we get issue remitter IMTO license by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So we will be launching service this year also in Nigeria. We have signed agreement with bank in Europe, an MOU. We have a term sheet, and we are negotiating agreement with the bank in the US. So hopefully, before the end of the year, we should be available in 43 countries in the world.
So much to look forward to. And I know your mission is to resolve income inequality through financial inclusion. Where did this passion come from, and why remittances?
So, number one, in Africa, the problem of income inequality is very, very significant. Access to cash for lending, it's all microfinance at rates that are worse than loan sharking. Or you have banks where you need the collaterals and the interest rates are also very high. So it's hard for small economy to strive, right? So we need to create the possibility to have cheap lending, accessible lending, and most importantly, a way to track users and businesses' credibility, financial credibility, so that they can earn the right to have good loan if they show proper financial behavior and they pay their debt on time. So for that, with Makeba, as we collect the remittance, it's getting into the pool account with our bank partners, because in each country, to be compliant with the regulator, we have a bank partner. And then we make sure that this money stay in the ecosystem, because we're providing to the merchants a proposition that is a good value. So then when the user receives the money from the remittance inbound, now they are spending it in their local community with the same application. Therefore, the money stay in the ecosystem. And while the people transact, now we are able to create credit profile and use those credit profile and artificial intelligence to provide loan. And that's the long-term goal within the next 2 years of Makeba, to provide cheap lending to businesses and consumer. By doing so, the businesses will be able now to afford more CapEx projects and expand their business, therefore creating more job, and in that way addressing the problem of income inequality. Then also, one thing that is an additional burden on this problem is the informal market. In Africa, as an average, 70% of the economy is informal. It's cash-based. And there is a lot of problem with this cash-based economy. Number one, you cannot build a credibility. You have risk of the money being stolen. You have problem lending money when you need to, because obviously you have no track record of credibility. So with this system, and with partnership with governments that understand that they need to improve on the tax bracket to this informal market, that will create the incentive to start bringing to the digital economy these businesses that today are completely informal.
Makeba was founded in New York City, and you've expanded operations and your product line into Africa. Every country in Africa is so different, never mind the rest of the world, from language to culture to solutions that are needed. What were your biggest challenges when entering this new market?
I mean, the challenges to get into a new market, usually you have a process of making sure that the central bank, that are the regulator in that financial ecosystem, understand what you want to do. Understand that you have a local bank partner that's going to make sure that you are fully compliant on KYC, on your anti-money laundering policies, on your security policy, and that you are a credible company with a credible track record. So in some countries, this could take or not take time. Like in Europe, it have been more straightforward, because with one agreement, we get 28 countries of the European financial, with the European passport. So the experience, you go from Senegal to Nigeria, it's completely different. The culture is different. The language is different. But I've been used to do business in this all type of Portuguese-speaking country, French, English. And we have found that it's fairly straightforward now. We have not been victim at all of any of corruption demand and things like that. No, it's very well regulated. You're dealing with very mature and financial savvy people that want to make sure they have good rules in place so that the credibility of the country, and most importantly, which is their job number one, protect the consumer for their financial needs. It has been positive so far, and we managed to expand well. In the US, in the investor community, Africa is not too much known. They are not. It's not too much in their landscape what they are looking at. I have been pitching Makeba business plan in 2016-17 in the US and had pretty much zero traction until I show it to a trust fund in South Africa, a sovereign wealth fund in South Africa, and they completely got the picture and literally, oh, but we have 50,000 miners. They will love to receive their salary on Makeba instead of waiting online to get an envelope with some cash in it. So we have found that African investors have been more attracted to Makeba because they understand the need, they understand the demographic of their continent, and that have been successful. But now the business have reached a maturity point where I think American investors are looking into it and they start to understand the different KPIs that reflect a good traction in this market, and they see also that the profit are usually higher. The profit margin are usually higher, and the demand is there. To tell you a nice story about the understanding of the African potential. If you go back in the beginning of the 90s, people didn't believe too much on those new guys coming with GSM technology for mobile phone. They say, oh no, in our country, we have 10,000 subscribers and that's the max because people are very poor and they cannot afford to buy a cell phone and the per minute charge will be so prohibitive for them. Well, in the 90s, we have seen prepaid GSM mobile services from private company having a huge success. I'm talking about Celtel, then becoming Airtel, MTN, and today this is over 1 billion subscribers all over Africa, and it have been a huge economic boost. So I believe that the financial services, bear in mind that only 20% of people have a bank account in Africa. So we are going to see right now in the African continent a huge boost in financial inclusion, and it will be mobile, and it will be this type of fintech providing to the people the solution that they need, and without traveling 50 kilometers to go to a branch and waiting online for 6 hours. So that's, I think, is going to be very significant. And that will then attract more investor, as we are ourselves preparing to go public under registration CF. We have enlisted Founder, and that campaign actually starts next Monday. So wefounder.com/Makeba, you will be able to learn starting next Monday everything about Makeba, and for people to invest if they wish to.
That's awesome. And how about when it comes to legal and compliance? What hurdles did you face in those areas?
So the way we operate is that we don't incorporate in the local country. We manage to sign a contract with a local bank, and that local bank have a license with the regulator to provide financial services, like they are a bank. And they understand very quickly the advantage of partnering with us. Number one, we don't go to the first 2 or 3 biggest bank in the country. We go usually to the number 4, number 5. They need the deposits, they need the transactions, and we're providing it to them. And the agreement is straightforward with a profit sharing on the float. And so once you pass that stage, and you go together to see the regulator is happy to know about Makeba, but they are looking at the bank because it's the bank that is licensed and it's the bank that is responsible to make sure KYC is done correctly, to make sure the anti-money laundering AML policy are tight, and that you monitor and you make sure that your system is not used for terrorism activity or criminal activity. So And in each country, they are very mature. You look at the case of Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria is very strong on policy, very strict. They had a very healthy financial sector for the last 20 years, doing a lot of reforms. And it's been good. A country like Capo Verde, way smaller, but very well regulated and pretty much in part to the compliance in Europe, as their money is actually paired to the euro, the escudos.
I work with quite a few fintechs in Europe that are looking to expand into Africa. What advice would you give to somebody in the beginning stages?
Learn the market that you are targeting. Once you are learning that market, make sure you segment it in a very detailed way and understand the needs of each of those segments and how your product can address those specific needs. And then understand that the next country, everything that you have learned in the first country is not adaptable. You cannot assume that because you have done your due diligence in Senegal, now in Gambia it's going to be the same thing, or in Kenya it's going to be the same thing. We have a beautiful big continent populated with 54 great countries, and each one is completely different on the language, in the culture, in the religion, in the habits of people, in the way they deal with money, in their type of regulated or not regulated currency. In South Africa, for example, it's a very mature financial ecosystem. You guys have a very nice application that allow you to do a lot of things, which is one of the reasons I think M-Pesa and MTN Money early on, like 5 years ago, wrap up and left South Africa because they just came with a conceived idea that, okay, we just do M-Pesa like we do it in Kenya and it's going to work in South Africa. And they fail and they retract. So now there is new approach, and I think they are more adapted to the mobile financial services of specific South African needs.
Okay, then let's take Nigeria, for example. What did you do to get to know the market more? So you say learn the market, but what steps did you go through to get that knowledge?
I was lucky to start business in Africa, including Nigeria, since 1998. So there is the aspect of time, going there multiple times, being able to visit inside to Abuja, to different locations, to Lagos, and just get out of the hotel, walk by the market and understand the dynamics of how things is done, how people go about financial services. Now, how you are going to address internationally the bad image that sometimes a country could have on financial services. So you got to address this by being extra careful on KYC and very strict on AML. So learning the market, get out of the hotel, walk to the actual market, and understand, feel it, smell it, and eat the local food and talk to the local people, from the taxi driver to a minister. Don't get stuck. Talk to the people.
I've lived on 4 different continents and have seen firsthand how one brand or product is marketed differently in each region. For example, in Indonesia, let's take something as simple as color palettes. A lot of dark brown and greens were used, where in America, bright colors were more common in ads. Did you find you had to change up your marketing strategy in African countries? And if so, how did you go about it?
Yes, definitely you must. And that's part of market landscape analysis. It's how you go deep in the understanding of the market, and then you have to adapt. So again, something that will work in Capo Verde, number one, the language is going to be different. So there is no way you can take the same advertising with the same tagline to a Francophone country. Then the tagline that work in French in Senegal is not something you're going to use in Nigeria. Yeah. So you do have to adapt, number one, because of the language. Number two, because of the competitive landscape. What are the players? If you get to Senegal, there is other mobile operation services like Orange Money. You go to Nigeria, you have a successful fintech like Paga. So you have to adapt and make sure you position yourself in a way that you could be, number one, embraced by the communities and that they see value in your product. and obviously stick to it after by providing a good service. That's the only way you are going to win, is to make sure your service is good, to a good value, stable, secure. Because remember that we're all talking here about fintech, and fintech is money. And when I don't have a lot of money, I am very, very careful about who I'm going to trust with my money.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons there is a strong informal market is because there is a lack of trust in the financial institution. So that is a strong battle that must be worked on to create stability, to create trust, so that the people know that their money is safe with you.
Talking about the informal market going digital, how long until we do see that happen, and how do we even get there?
I think one of the main driver is, number one, the government understanding that 70% of their economy is informal, and for them to understand what will it be if this business was not informal, what will be the impact on the country rating, what will be the impact on their currency, what will be the impact in job creation, in the overall economic boost. Once they get that, and they create some tax incentive for small business to go. I mean, look at it. If you ask a small business that make less than $10,000 a year in income, and you tell him, you know what, go digital with this beautiful financial solution that we propose you, and now instead of making 10,000, you're gonna make 7,000 because we're gonna take 30% out of your income. Obviously, they are not going to go for it. But if you look at the average corporate rate, and you look at the actual tax rate out of the gross income, you see that it's something that ranging between 1.4 to sometime 1.75% of the gross income in the corporate world, depending the tax structure in Africa. So if you come to an informal business and you tell him, look, for the first 3 years of your business below that tax bracket, you will be charged a 1% tax on your gross income, then it's acceptable. And then if it could be enforced that every business selling a banana, selling anything, you will have to be registered with the tax authority, and you have to use any type of digital solution you want to use. So it's a mix of the carrot and the stick, but the carrot need to be there, and the carrot is proper tax bracket catering to the informal market. So that's going to be the number one driver. The second driver, it will be companies like Makeba to really roll out to those different locations and showing to them solutions that make their life easier, that make their business thrive, that make their savings for them to be protected and their credibility to come, so that when they need to have, I don't know, crop insurances, when they need to have loans, when they need proper saving with interest, that you provide all the solution to those businesses. This, I think, is the way, and it's happening right now.
Definitely. It's really, really exciting. On the topic of exciting things, the day this podcast goes live is the same day Makeba goes public. How are you feeling about it?
So excited. I mean, that's a wonderful timing of event. You reaching out just in that time and being able to talk to the people. It's wonderful, and I hope that people will check out the page and invest. The access to buy shares is not expensive. The first it's the access is just one share, so a small investor, you don't have to be a big VC. And it's very exciting, and it's for me also very honoring to see a business that started in Africa with a mix of people. As people will go to our website, you will see the diversity of our staff. Our technology is built in Senegal by a dream team of 24 developers. And to see now that American investor will be able to take a piece of this opportunity and be aware of the potential, because we inform a lot our investors. We give a lot of update on a monthly basis. We want them to be well informed of the progress of the company. So I think that's going to be positive to open the eyes of American investor on what's going on in the continent and the potential of a financial ecosystem that cater to people's need.
What did the process of going public look like?
So you need to put your finance in order. They need to be to a certain standard called, I think, GAAP. So they need to be reviewed. Then you have a process of due diligence with Founder, where they check your corporate documents, they check your finance, they check your team, they check the potential, they check the track record of the business. So once you pass all these due diligence, then you prepare your page. We hire a marketing company so that they can help us to talk the right word to the people, to create trust and understanding, and then the desire of investment. And then you go for it. And there is a period of time, which I am in right now, where you give friends and family and larger investor the possibility to come in a little bit earlier with a discount. I mean, so that's the process. And it's about a month and a half process, 2 months.
I'm excited for you guys. You guys are doing massive things all over the globe. Yamandou, thank you so much for coming on to this episode. I loved having you on. Where can listeners reach you? Where's the best place to find you?
So my first name, which is Yamandou, Yamandou, is not hard to find on LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. And professionally, LinkedIn is definitely a place to connect, and love to talk to anybody that have questions and ideas. I'm completely open to network, and I believe it's in this fintech space is only a few of us crazy one, and we must help each other. We must be there for each other. So I'm here, available.
Love it. Well, thanks again.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Talking Success, connecting the global fintech community. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at Talent in the Cloud. And if you're interested in exec talent, or you yourself are looking for a new exciting change in your career, check out our website, talentinthecloud.io.